So decomposition is where is a technique for dividing and subdividing the project scope and the project deliverables into those smaller manageable parts. So when you get into that work package, it's not usually more than 40 hours, so that's kind of a good point when you decompose it to that level. That's a small enough package to be able to work on that deliverable. Excessive decomposition can lead to a non-productive management effort, and then also an inefficient use of resources and decreased efficiency in performing the work. So you want to make sure you're not getting down to like a level of, say, 8 hours or even 2 hours. You know, that's going to be too much decomposition. You want to have it more at a little bit higher of a level. So again, a work package is that work defined at the lowest level of the WBS for which cost and duration can be estimated and managed. So WBS structure can be created using templates and or organizational guidelines. It's often created using a top-down approach, that hierarchical approach, as we talked about. It can be created using a bottom-up approach as well in order to group subcomponents. It can also be represented in a number of forms. Okay, so you could have it as phases, as major deliverables, or even incorporating subcomponents that are developed outside of the project team. Okay, so let's go one more here. So an agile approach for creating a WBS creates what they call epics that can be decomposed into user stories. And it's kind of more structured as an outline or an organizational chart or a hierarchical breakdown. On page 158 in your book, figure 5-12, you can see an example of a WBS decomposed down through work packages. So their example is 1.0 is your value management system project. 1.1 would be your needs assessment. 1.2 is your standards development. 1.3 systems engineering. 1.4 is project management. And then from 1.1, your needs assessment, you're going to have 1.1.1, which is your current system audit. 1.1.2 requirements documentation. 1.1.3 alternatives development. 1.1.4 system requirements development. And then you can have even further down into alternatives analysis, requirements, changes identification, etc. This is illustrative only, so it's not intended to represent a full project scope of any project. It's just basically an example. And then on page 159, you'll see figure 5-13, and this is an example of a WBS organized by phase. So you're having a software release 5.0, that's your top level, and from that stems your project management, your product requirements, your detailed design, your construct, and your integration and testing. Under project management, you're going to have planning, meetings, and administration. Product requirements has software, user documentation, and training program materials. Detailed design has software, user documentation, training program, etc. So it just gives you some really, I think, good examples there. And then on page 160, it gives you an example of a WBS created with major deliverables. So I think those are some really good examples there. Just another note about decomposition, it may not be possible for a deliverable that will be accomplished far into the future. So in this case, the project team waits until that deliverable is agreed upon before creating the WBS for that deliverable, which is called rolling wave planning. And then the work breakdown structure represents all of the product and project work, including project management work. The total of the work at lower levels should roll up into higher levels so nothing is left out and nothing extra is done. And this principle is called the 100% rule. So the 100% rule and rolling wave planning are two concepts related to decomposition, which are related to your WBS and your scope. So just kind of a way to remember them, because you probably will see questions about that potentially on the exam.